I am sure sports. You know me there. I'm coast to coast representing. I mean, say this is righteous representing for Omar. You don't know, come get the sports over here from near and far. Boy. Me say I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. I am sure sports, one thing me sure about. When me say sure, that me not doubt. Come get your sports, get it over here. Come subscribe, repost and share. If me not sure, that me not say it. Know who score, that me not say it. Never know no game play, that me not say it. If me never see no game, me no know who play. For your sports news, better come over here so. For your soccer news, then come over here so. If you don't love sports, still come over here so. For the day done, you are gonna love over here so.
So when it comes on to behavior concerning football, Jamaica is decent. I am sure that if we can get all of these things done, set in place by the end of April, it gives us enough time before the World Cup campaign. Not afraid of no Brazil, no Argentina with these crapper players. We are good enough. Remember to like, subscribe, share. Listen, comment. Let me know what your thoughts are.
Made up of 18 Jamaican herbs and spices. Add delicious, bold flavor to your next grilling experience. Flavoring sauce, a marinade, basting, condiment, or topping. Trick Nick Jerk Barbecue Sauce.
Trick Nick Jerk Marinade gives your meats and vegetables authentic Jamaican jerk flavor. The spices are directly from Jamaica. Spices like jerk seasoning, allspice, Scotch bonnet pepper, fresh scallions, thyme, ginger, and garlic. The key ingredients to a great jerk marinade. 0% sugar and low in sodium. You want to try it?
All right, good afternoon and welcome to I Am Sure Sports. I'm your host, Man. And today we have a very, very special show lined up for you. You know, it must be special because at this time, the JPL game is going on. And we have chosen to do a very, very exciting interview with one of the great coaches in women's football in Jamaica, right? One of the standouts. He has made his name in coaching on the female side in particular, and we're going to be hearing from him today. His name is Mr. Charles Edwards, and if you're associated with Barbican Football Club or you're in that area, you know that he's a household name in those parts, probably right across Jamaica, but in particular in those areas. Also, he is also a coach who was at Constant Spring. Yes, Constant Spring Football Club. Yeah, man. So we're going to hear from him today. He's going to share with us his story, his journey in the sports. And we want to take some time firstly, though, to big up the sponsors of this video before we invite our guest on. The sponsors are Prestige Finance, right, where they lend a helping hand when you need it most. If you need to borrow up to 100,000 Jamaican dollars, wow, you give them a call at 876-884-7390, and if you tell them that you heard about them on I Am Sure Sports, here is what they will give you: a loan at 0 to 4% interest rate, no processing fee, and same-day processing. Also want to say a big thank you to Launch Legacy. Yes, Launch Legacy, where they handle risk and seek legacy. So for all your personal insurance needs in Canada and the USA, visit them at launchlegacy.com or call or text 647-989-0782. That's Launch Legacy for you. Okay. All right. Also want to say thank you to all our subscribers and persons who are watching at this time. Remember, once you come on to the stream, please hit the like button. That's your way of supporting the channel. We also have what we call a super sticker that you can make small contribution all the way from $1 up to whatever amount on the channel, or you can also do it by using a super chat. That's an easy way of getting your comments shared on the platform. But I'm not going to be here wasting your time, keeping your time. I'm going to have us engage now our special guest for today, Mr. Charles Edwards. All right, so let's welcome Mr. Charles Edwards to I Am Sure Sports. Sir, Coach Edwards, welcome to I Am Sure Sports. Good afternoon.
Thank you, Amar, and good afternoon to you and all the listeners, and thanks for having me on your program.
Okay,
It sounded like I paid you some big money for all of that. Big up.
no. Your volume is a little low, so I don't know if there's a way that you can turn it up or bring the mic closer.
Let me see.
Go. You can go. Let me see if we can hear you better. I want to
Any
make sure
better
that.
now?
Yes, that's a whole lot better. Yeah.
All right, good.
Awesome, wonderful. Well, again, I want to welcome you to the channel. I mean, you're on different business this time. The last time you were here, we were more focused on what is happening with the female team, but today we want to focus on just your own career, your own journey in football. We started this platform because we want to highlight some of the persons who have made significant contribution to the sport of football in our nation, and they oftentimes go unrecognized. And too often, we wait until people are passed before we begin to speak about their legacy. So I really created this platform with one of the primary focuses is, tapping into the mind and the heart of some of the persons, like I said, who have made meaningful contribution to the development of players and the sport on a whole in Jamaica. And I want to say that uh, that that's what I know you to be, a person who, from the grassroots to the treetops, you have been working assiduously to develop players, especially on the female side, and to enhance football in Jamaica. So I want to commend you on that and to thank you publicly and on this platform for your tremendous work over 30 years. And, some people don't live that long. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it.
Yeah, man, most welcome. All right, so now that I've done so much of the talking in the last 8 minutes, I want you to just share your journey. Just share with us, how did you get involved in football? At what age of your life did you get involved, and at what level did you get involved? And just give us your journey as much as possible, leading up to where you are today in the sport.
To be honest with you, I've been playing football from I know myself, but it was football and cricket. I used to play over Chalmers Avenue with the likes of Den, Zone Clark, and went on to St. Andrew Technical after that. But I think I was more interested in cricket when I went into school, and somehow most of my friends were footballers, so they persuaded me to come over to that side. And then I started to play for St. Andrew Technical. I was no big footballer, but I could hold my own. I could make the team. I could start. And then at an early age, analyzing football in Jamaica, I realized it never paid much in those days. This was in the 70s. So I decided that it was bookwork for me. So I came out, I played for Constant Spring. I think it was Sid Bartlett. And I was enjoying it. But at some point I stopped and I went to my parents and I said, you know what? I'm ready for university. Because I had a lot of subjects. I did my bookwork. Isaac Henry was a principal and I, was very close to him. Good guidance, great man he was. But when I told my parents that, I think they were happy. And I went off to New York. I did architecture at New York Institute of Technology. When I came back during the holiday times, I would go up by Constant Spring. But if you know architecture back in the days, it was a lot of work. We never had AutoCAD. So if you had 20 big sheets of paper to draw on, you have to hand draw everything. So like one Nigerian professor once said to us, if you want to know where the architects are on the campus, at 4 or 5 in the morning, go out and look. The lights that are on are definitely most of the architects. So was a lot of work. So when I came back home in the summer, I told Maurice Lynn I had no interest in playing football, but I'd come and help you. Because at those times, you're young and you're excited to come home and you want to go to the parties and you want to enjoy yourself and all of that. So at this point of time, I had no idea how to become a coach. All I knew, I was having a fun time helping him, having a good camaraderie with all the friends I had up there and all of that. And then when I graduated and came back and went up there and started to help him, I became his assistant coach. And the journey started from there. And then, we brought Constant Spring from Sid Bartlett to Premier League. And that was a rather exciting journey. And it was one where I learned a lot. I think Maurice Lynn, to me, up to this day, is still a very good, or was a very good coach in terms of the tactical analyzing. Halftime when he came in and he spoke, things that you never even realized that was happening in the game, you would realize, oh yes, I did see that. Oh, okay. And you always wondered how on earth did he remember all of these things. But he was great. He was a good coach at the time. Very good. Very, very good. I think he lost the passion. But anyhow, he handed over a baton to me in terms of the principle and all of that. And I decided I was going to run with it now. So in early 2000, I decided I was going to step out on my own. Actually, I thought I was going to quit football because I got frustrated with the spectators and all the abuse and everything at Constant Spring. I was like, I've had enough. But being a young man, I had a lot of friends, and a couple of those who were females were kicking ball up at Mona. So a couple of them said to me one day, come up and kick some ball with us. But I don't know if they were trapping me or what. But I went up there, excited, a lot of females around. I'm a young man, I'm happy to go and play with them, having fun. And then a challenge was issued to them to play a Cayman team. And they turned to me and asked me if I would become the coach for them. And I wanted to say no, but there weren't anybody else around to help them. So I said, okay. They said they would pay for my airfare, hotel, everything, all my expenses. I said, why not? I'm getting a free trip to Cayman. Let's go. We went there. We won the 2 games. We came back. And I thought that was it. But no, they wanted to enter the competition. This is the time now when Elaine Walker-Brown was running women's football in Jamaica. The competition, I don't remember what the name was at the time, but just that was prior to the JFF taking it over. And I said, okay, I'll work with you guys. Never knew where it would have taken me. And we started, it was United Strikers playing up at Mona, next door to the hockey field. And we did well. At the time, Vin Blaine had Huey. And there was AC Milan around with Bradley Stewart and all of that. So, it was pretty competitive and quite a few talents around. You had
United FC was different from, because they were in Mona, but they were not the University of the West Indies team.
No, this was United Strikers. I don't think Huey had a team then. No, lie. Huey had a team and Vin was coaching Huey.
Okay.
Vin moved on from Huey.
Where did the players then from your team come from, and then they can continue from?
A lot of them were working girls, A lot of them weren't even playing in a league. But as I said, it was friends in Cayman with friends in Jamaica who issued each other a challenge, and that's how it started.
Okay.
And we won the 2 games there. And I think that momentum or that excitement, they wanted to go further with it, and they decided they wanted to play the league. So we got a few players out from outside who were playing in the leagues, like the Cassandra McCoy, Tamara Williams. There was another Williams who was a goalkeeper, excellent. Up to this day, I think is one of the best I've seen, apart from maybe a few more. And we got them together. We entered the league, and the first year we went straight to semifinals, and Micah knocked us out. Micah was the team, I think it was Lishon Pearter or something like that, but they had quite a bit of a talent within them also. Marva, a girl named Marva, who came up and played for us after a while. And it was a good thing for us because your first year entering straight into semifinals, led the first leg 2-0, lost the second leg 3-2 or something like that, and got knocked out. And then we came back after that, and we were always competitive until we started to win the league. And once we started to win it, then that was it. But after about 2 or 3 years, we went over to Barbican. and we became a part of Barbican Football Club, and that is where the Barbican came from.
Okay, awesome, awesome. I see a couple of comments. Let me just get them. I see Fabian Watkins, Fabian from Constant Spring.
Oh yeah.
Fabulous,
But
and big up
fabulous,
coach Charlie. Fabulous. There you go. Yes, yes.
fabulous. How are you doing? Hope all is well.
Then Simon Preston is saying, "Hey coach, hope you are well. I remember the story you told me at Constant Spring with Danilin. Glad he gave you an opportunity. So you know that you're gonna have to share that story. You can't just tell it to Simon alone. You got
Oh
to tell it to
Lord.
the viewers as well. So and then
Simon, I've shared so many stories with Simon. He needs to tell me which one of the stories it was. Because Simon is a very interesting character. I like talking to, and somehow he opens up my brain, and things come out that you don't even want to talk about, but it comes out.
Yeah, all right. So we'll see. Simon, you need to let us know which one of the stories. And then he says, Coach Edwards did a good job with Reggae Girls at the Pan Am Games in Rio in 2007. Tashana, Vincent, and company.
Yeah.
All right.
We actually won. I think we were the first Caribbean team to have ever won in South America, but because of female football, nobody spoke about it.
Oh,
Yep.
oh,
We beat Ecuador 1-0 in that Pan American Games, the first game.
whoa, whoa. Okay. So the first team to beat a South American team in
South
South
America.
America was the Reggae Girls that in the Pan Am tournament in 2007.
Right. And if I'm not right, this is actually what Howard Bell, Juicy Bell, had told me because he was one of the managers over there at the time for the boys. Remember, Downswell was there with the boys.
Right.
And I remember him running over to me after the game and said, Coach, you're the first coach our team to have won in South America. And I was like, wow. But I think we beat the boys to it because the boys went on to win games after, but they started after us.
Okay, the Pan Am game started for the male after the female, right? Right. All right, and then Simon says you also drew with Uruguay 1-1, I think in that
Yeah.
same tournament.
We drew 1-1 with Uruguay, and it was very painful for me because it was a penalty awarded where if we had VAR at the time, it would not have been. Because what the South American player did, going past the center back, jammed their foot in the ground and went down. And the referee, being a distance away, called the penalty. So one of them things. When we look back at the replay, we were like, wow, unfortunate because we could have had a second win after that game.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to, as a Fabian said that he's on break, so he just drop in to listen. And he's admitting as well that he owes me an interview. He knows, but maybe after he sees you, he will get some bravery to come on. But so you came to so you actually won the Women's League when you're at United.
No, we won it when we were at Barbican.
Okay, all right.
We were at Barbican, yeah.
So talk to us about the first time you actually won the Women's League. And I don't know if you remember the Danilin story, but that Simon is speaking about. But if it comes back at any point, you can share it. Feel free to. But tell us about
Tell
your
Simon
first
for me, don't set me up too much now, please. That first game was rather exciting. It's a game I'll never forget. And this was one of the points in my life where tactically we're really learning and growing. We had untouchables strikers. That was from Mobay, coached by Coach Brown. And they were a very good crop of players, very good team. And they were top of the league at the time with us. And we went into the finals together. Now, the first stadium beside where they have the Sumfest now, that big car park field.
UDC field?
UDC. It's a massive field.
Yeah.
It's long.
Yes.
And let me tell you, their team is used to it. That's what they're training. So on the way down, I said to the team, listen, it's going to be a tough day for us today. But what I want you to come back up with is at least a draw or something attainable in the second leg at Barbican. And if you know Barbican field, it's a very small field.
Small field, yeah.
So it's a big contrast. And what they were doing at the time, they never possessed the ball well. But what they did was just a lot of long ball, and you had to be able to run with them. And we went 1-love down, and I'm like, okay, no, no more, no more. And then they went 2-0 down, and I'm like, wow. But we managed to hold them at that point and finish the game like that. So it was very concerning. On the bus coming back, I was extremely quiet because I was now playing the game back in my head, thinking my way through. And the first training session with the girls, after such a hard run, I said to them, come, we, we warmed up, we stretched out, and we only scrimmaged for about 30 minutes. We didn't do anything more because they were tired. And I said to them after, I said, listen, play a game with me here now, mentally. Just close your eyes and think about it. On Saturday, this is what is going to happen. And we started to mentally go through it. And we got ourselves very prepared for them mentally. And when they came up, I remember Prendergast was doing the game. And it was at Barbican where we decided now we're going to go at them. They're not going to have any long balls to play because the field is too short. They will have to play possession football. It's not their football. And we had Tanisha Francis at the time, who was leading goal scorer for high school record. And in the women's league, she was an exceptional scorer. So we went at them, and in about 15, 20 minutes, we were 2 up. So it was now 0-0. And we just piled the pressure on. I pressed them. We were just going at them, and the game finished 5-0. And that was the first championship. And let me tell you, if you saw the amount of excitement, joy, and everything overflowing, and even the spectators who went down who were very concerned that maybe we couldn't come back. But I'll back up a little bit and tell you that I knew that they couldn't play on a small field. And I remember we had them in a game earlier in the season, and our field was rented out for a function that the manager forgot the game, and he did a rent out to somebody else for some function, and we had to play them. And I was toying with the situation and said, let's test this team. And we carried them to Greenwich Farm, which is another small field. And they were completely lost on the field. So after seeing that, you kind of had an idea that they couldn't manage the Barbican field either. So It was kind of a setup then, but now it was like playing into our hands because they never had enough goals to keep them in the game. And, we just went at them. It was 5-2. It was the start of the Barbican run. We had 3 championships back to back then. Then we lost the next 2. I think the next 2 years, Harborview won one, and I think Waterhouse won the other. And then we came back and we took the next 9.
Okay, so in all you have won 12. You'd have won 12 championships with Barbican.
Yeah, in 14 years.
In 14. Whoa! Is there any other coach who is even near that?
I don't know. I've never really checked those things. What is my joy is to see players progressing, players turning their lives around, valuing themselves, and like I've had a lot of them who went off to university and do well, and I'm just
talk to us about some of those players.
One of the prime one was Ishmael Faulkner. They call her Messam. We used to go to Cayman and play a tournament, and she came with us, liked what was going on at Barbican, and decided to switch over. She was from Waterhouse. She had no subjects, and she had something behind her, but she got a break and went up to university. And I tell you something, she called within the first semester, and she said, Coach, she called Coach Flowers and myself, individual calls, and she said, I can't deal with this. I'm coming home. I want to come home, but she had no airfare, so she was dependent on us to do it. And after a long talk, hours on the phone, and you don't want even to see that phone bill, we convinced her to stay, and we said to her, the money that would have taken to buy the ticket, we're going to send that to you to buy the little things that you want, to keep you. Because she said, Coach, I'm going to give it another semester, just for you. Then I called Coach Drew Burwash, and I said, Drew, this player is up there. She has no financial support from Jamaica. Get her a little thing that she can do and make a little money, and buy her little knickknacks and put in her little apartment and keep her going. And she did, and she never looked back. She graduated with her degree. She went on to her master's. She got a grad assistant, and she now lives in the US and doing pretty well. And there are many more like that. Alicia James didn't come from my club totally. She was at a club before. I can't remember the name right now, but she was there before, and then she went on to university. She did well at Bethel. You have a lot of them, so many of them, So it's just for the names to pop up back in my head, and then I could
Yeah.
tell the stories.
In terms of skill and ability, is there like a couple of the players who they may not have probably gone on to university, but I mean, they were in your time, they were instrumental to your success over those 14 years, and you'd say, man, just gifted.
You, you,
As coach, tell you his name. Lieber Taliban said that magic when he talks about certain football, I says magic.
yeah,
Who are the magic in your midst?
yeah. I could talk about that from Constant Spring days come right up.
Go ahead and tell me
But
so because
that's a setup
I
question,
hope
because that's
I
putting
hope
me
you
in
don't call
trouble.
I hope you don't call Fabian Watkins' name.
He was a rocks man. Fabian, my apologies. He wasn't. But there are so many players from Constant Spring, man. The Dean Swells, the Martin Bats, Lincoln Taff, Christian Ramon Christian. Let me tell you,
Yes.
it's a
Marvin
setup.
Chin.
Cap up Marvin. Oh well, Marvin Chin's story now was something else, huh? Because when we were qualifying for Premier League, I remember when we beat Taros, coached
Yes,
by
yes.
Alan Scale Cole. We or it was a drawn game at Constant Springs. So they were laughing that going down to Portland, they were going to beat us. And I'll tell you this, I've never seen this in my life before. You're driving on the roads in Portland, it's completely dry and dusty. You get to a house where we're staying, we're spending the day because we had a plan. The place is dry and dusty. You drive into the field, the compound, it's dry. And the minute you walk on the field, it's soggy, soaking wet. It's what we call a big setup. And we decided we can't do anything about it. We're going to play. And we fought that day. It was not about playing football. It was about just fighting and staying in the game. And it ended up in a draw. So it was penalty shootout. And Marvin Chin, let me tell you, I'll never forget that performance. Super, super, super performance. He saved a couple of penalties, and that is what carried us through to Premier League.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, amazing. But in those days, we had so many players. The Boomers, all of those guys were very good players. I remember one straight out of Camperdown. I can't even remember his name. We were playing. It could have been Boys Town and Corey. Remember Corey from Marvel who played centre half? I think it was for Boys Town.
Yes.
And this little youngster took him on at centre back and was plotting. And his feet tied up and he rolled over. He was so embarrassed that when he came into the changing room, he draped him up and said, "Little boy, a big man, listen, and I'll do that on the field with me again."
Yeah, those are the days, man. Those
But
are the days.
Barbican now, we have
Yeah.
had a lot of talent there. You have the Alicia James, which to me is one of the best female standout midfielders in this country, or the country has ever seen.
Whoa.
I've coached Scalace, who is another talented player, Tasha Vincent.
If you call the girls by their like their nicknames are most of Jamaica not going to know them.
Some of them, if I call them by nickname, is because I can't remember the right name.
Oh,
it's too many names in my head, and at my age now.
Yeah, because Simon is asking if you coach Shakira Duncan.
No, Shakira Duncan and I were close friends, and she always said, "Boy, I'm coming over to Barbican complain. I'm coming up." But listen, Shakira was well looked after by Vin Blaine. Vin Blaine looked after his players well, and most of his players would never leave just like that. And Shakira was one of them, like a daughter. So it would have been like a betrayal. But she and I were very close friends, and we ran a lot of jokes. But I don't think Shakira either would have managed the hard work at Barbican.
What
Shakira
about
never liked that.
Vincent?
I coached her in the latter part. She has won a couple trophies with us. Yeah, man.
Okay.
You have Tamara Honeywell from back in the days. Tamara Williams and Williamson, the goalkeeper from back in the days, were great. Marva. You have Jody and McGregor.
Yeah, McGregor. Yeah, McGregor was a part of your championship run. Yes.
A lot of she has played somewhere like 11, 12 years. And you know how that player came? She was from Mobile, and Coach Jackie Walters came to me one day and said, I have a little player for you and I want to take her in your hands and look after her. And she was about 15 at the time. And she went straight on to those championships after championships after championships. She has played, I think, actually all the age group coming up. You know, I've had Felicia Lewis, who's another top centre back. I think is one of the best centre backs I've ever had coaching. I've had good strikers, well, a lot. I've had Jody, what was Jody? Trudy. She was fast, kick it hard. Nadola Chase, Ricketts, Petrona Ricketts, Golson. There are so many good players over the years, and I'm missing a lot of names, and I know I'm going
Yes.
to get called up and cussed out after this. And that's why I say it's a setup question.
So let's leave the setup and take Simon's question here. He's saying, Coach, I would love for you to expand on the patience needed with coaching women and dealing with their cycle and other issues in order to get success.
You know, at the Pan American Games, Dr. Franklin, who was an athlete for Jamaica, who went on to do medicine, and she was at Kingston Public Hospital, I think. Yes, she was at Kingston Public Hospital, but she was a doctor for the teams at the Pan American Games in Brazil. And I used to fall victim to that cycle. And she said to me one day, being a female, she said, listen, not all, but majority of females can train and play through the cycle. But the part that you have to be patient with is the emotions going out of whack. She didn't say that part to me, but that is what I have learned. And a lot of male coaches need to learn it. That once you're going to be coaching females, there are going to be days when they pop up and they are mentally just out of whack psychologically, emotionally, and there's nothing you can do about it. Because most time the players can't do anything about it either. You just have to understand that this is this time of the month for them, allow them to be themselves, and truthfully, they will come back to you most of the time and say, Coach, sorry, but I hope you understand. And you just can't take it on. But I remember after Dr. Franklin telling me that, I was back in Jamaica when a couple of players came to me one day and said, Coach, it's that time of the month, I can't train. And I said to them, no problem. But I hope you know that if you have a game and it's that time of the month, you won't be playing either. And they looked at me and they said, okay, Coach, we're going to change. We're going to train. And that was the end of that in Barbican. Because they can't train. They will be a little weaker. And I will always tell them that if you're feeling depleted, weak, or whatever, just say something to me and we'll pull you off, or we'll lighten your workload. Because one of the trademarks of Barbican was, and even Constant Spring, physically we worked extremely hard. Because it was that nobody should outrun you. And then at Barbican, we had this saying that if you were locked with us in the 60th or 70th minute, you're going to lose the game because you're not going to be able to run with us. We work really hard. I remember we had a finals coming up one day and Boys Town played a game before. It was raining in the latter half of the game. The field was soggy. This was like resting them the day before the finals. So we had a last window for training. And what we did, Elaine was there and she said she's watching us because she's like, Barbican training get washed out. But she noticed that the players went to the container, took out the stuff, the equipment. And then she's like, I need to watch what is going to happen here. Train on this. And what we did was find all the tough spots on the field. And for 2 hours, we worked physically. And when the players came off, they were totally covered in mud. But we were ready for the finals and we won the finals. And from that day, she was like, wow. I understand. Now I know why you all win so many championships. But cycle back to his question is a matter of, I think a lot of coaches in this country needs to read a lot once it comes to the females, understand the cycle, and learn that there needs to be patience whenever a player is going through that cycle. You can't push them. If you push them, there's going to be a conflict between the two. And then they're not going to be confident of you because you don't understand what they're going through. And that means problems down the road.
Yeah. So when you look at it from that perspective, which aspect of the game is the hardest in terms of female coaching? is the technical, the tactical, the physical, or the psychological aspect that would include the emotions? And I mean, I'm talking in comparison to dealing with like male players who you had success coaching at Constant Spring.
Physically, I don't have a mentally, none either. I think the both would, be on par because the mental is not about the gender. The mental is about the issues that you're carrying with you. Psychologically now is where all the issues are in terms of the female players because at Constant Spring, Maurice Lynn and myself, more Maurice Lynn would rough up players and 2-2s they drop it and get over it because men shelve things. So they compartmentalize, they shelve it, they move on. Females don't do that. Females carry it. So if you do something that the female doesn't like or she's upset with, you're going to have a problem. And you have to be ready. You must be ready to find a way to deal with it and get it out of the way. If not, it's going to play a very significant part in blocking your training. And you and I know that if you get one upset, the mistake you make is to believe that is one going to be upset with you because every player has their group. So now our support team is going to be upset with you. So it suits you to be able to sort it out. So I would say the psychological part is the hardest part of coaching female, but we had ways and means of dealing with it at Barbican, and it became a walk in the park after a while. Plus, every Wednesday, we had a sports psychologist who would come in and sit down and work with the team. And he did a great job. Dr. Christopher Charles did a fantastic job with the girls because there are a lot of times when players may have issues in terms of personal or team or whatever it may be. And his job was to flush it out, clean it out, and then just come back to me and say, well, Charles, this is now over with, or Charles, this is what is lingering, or Charles, I think you maybe need to adjust up this in training or something like that. And that is one of the reasons why I am personally batting so adamantly for teams in Jamaica, coaches and managers to recognize the need for sports psychologists in this country.
Yeah.
Very important.
I mean, I'm really glad that you brought up that point because, I mean, it's something that we can probably segue into and talk about. I mean, were those resources available to you when you were part of the national setup for the women's team in terms of having the psychologists there to deal with the ladies, especially when it came on to major tournaments?
In Brazil, Dr. Richards was there with the body, but I'm not sure. I think she was with the tennis group. And I would pick her brain from time to time, but she was never there for the football team. So in football, we hardly use it in football. But yet still, they'll give you a course and show you the importance of it. But they don't make it available for the national programs back in the day. I'm not sure what goes on now, but especially with what the female team at the moment, I think they need it, right? Because of all the hiccups that they have had in the past. Because, players can say to you that, boy, we're over this. But the truth be told, that's just a commercial response. Deep down, it might still be lingering, or it might still be causing an itch, or it might this or that or whatever. So, it's very important. If you look at a lot of international teams, every one of them, or 90% of them, have a sports psychologist within their makeup.
Yeah.
It's very critical.
Very critical. And I like this other question that Paul Marriott is asking. He says, couldn't that aspect of the women's game be incorporated into the coaching certification locally or not? And I think the question is, because also with that question, what I want to add is that should there be a separate kind of coaching certification for persons who are going to be involved in female football than the one required to coach male football?
That's a very interesting question and a very interesting way to look at it. But I want to say no. I think if you're going to be a coach and the possibility exists, then you should have not a different certification, but a module. A module is the right word. You should be able to do a module or an upgrade to your certification for that. Because why I say it doesn't have to be different is because everything else is the same. the tactical, the technical, the techniques, everything that you're doing is the same. But I agree that something needs to be in it. There's a little in it, but not enough. They give you stuff on the physical body and all these things. Like, for instance, the muscle mass is less density than men. So you find that they need more recuperation time, and the diet might be a little bit different because, because of that, they put on weight quicker and differently, So all of these things means that, you have to train them differently. You have to work with them differently, but don't fool yourself. As hard as you train the boys, you can train the girls. I remember Tuffy Anderson being at the field one day when we were training, and we were putting the girls through one of the tough days, because you have a way of training where you go up and come back down, because you have to taper them off and prepare them for matches. You can't burn them right out going into a game. And he was there during one of the tough sessions, and at the end of it, he said to me, "Boy, coach, them girls are training harder than some of the Premier League team them know." And I started to laugh, and I'm like, why do you think we win so many championships? But it's not just us. There are other female teams out there who train very hard. I remember when I had the national team and we were going off to Brazil. I had the team like about 4 weeks before. The girls were coming from zero, and I quite rightly said at the time, I can't do much for this team going into Brazil. What I'm going to do is go over there to test the water, get my feet wet, acclimatize, and then when I come back, I'll start to prepare. And I remember when we went to Antigua, the team was in such fine-tuned form that we were just blowing everybody apart. I think we came back with 24 to 30 goals, 4-0 against in that tournament. And then the Brazilians came in and took over after that. So the whole dynamics changed. But I think it can be incorporated, though, the thing that we're talking about in terms of coaching women. But as to have a different program now.
Yeah, because I'm thinking is, for just as an example, and then you can tell me this, if you have to be teaching the tenets of the game, say for example, the technical ability, which includes passing or heading the ball and stuff, because of the physical makeup of the female, are you coached to use different kinds of drills than you use for the men, because of their physical makeup, and our coaches coached in that way, or they are just coached on the male side and they transfer all of that male training to the females, when probably how you coach heading for men probably will have to be different in how you coach it for women. That's why one of the reasons why I asked the question.
I think if I was,
both,
I think if I was in your shoe, I maybe would have thought the same or asked the same question. But I have had some females who head better than a lot of males. When you look at a Felicia Lewis, that girl doesn't miss a header. And as tough as that ball is, she's getting that ball out. And you can't change the technique. The technique is there. You have to use the same technique. But this is where the problem comes in now. You have some females who are like, coach, I don't want to mess up my face. I don't want this. I don't want that. They are the glamour types, and they don't want to head the ball.
They don't want to take it on their chest.
No, but a lot of them are taking it on the chest. Now, what they take it is a bit higher, and they take it just as well as a male does. But they take it. The first time when I was coaching females, I used to be very worried about that until I started to monitor them keenly and realize that they're taking it above. And I was like, wow, cool. And it just disappeared. After so many years, you don't even think about it anymore.
The mic got a little low again, I think, when they beat in the chest.
So I don't know. But in terms of the techniques, though, the techniques remain the same. Because remember now, FIFA is the same rules right through. The same pressure in the ball, the same type of ball, everything is the same. So if you are going to train the players differently, you're going to put them at a disadvantage.
Okay.
They have to be able to manipulate that ball just the same like the male does. And, we tend to believe that because they are females, they are not as good, as they can't do this and they can't do that. That's so wrong. I remember the girls going to, I don't want to call the school, but it was George's. They were going up there to play a practice game against some of the old boys. And the men were like, oh, they don't want to this and they're trying to take time. You had girls knocking those guys over and kicking them down and stuff like that. Ended up beating them 5-3 and laughed at them and left. And the guys were like, wow. And I remember again when I had the national team going into Antigua, we were down at Brooks Park in Manchester. Mr. Tony James had given us the Gulf View Hotel to stay and to train by the field. And I think it was the cartridge that we were playing in a practice game. And they came over, young under 19 boys, very hype. And you would never believe it. They got 5-1.
Yeah, well, I know that normally happens because I remember, I think it was Barry G used to have a group of girls that he was working
Boogie
with.
Girls. Boogie Girls.
Boogie Girls. Yeah, and they had
Yeah.
an exhibition game. Think I was probably somewhere like under 14, but they were well, I don't know if they were all adults, but to me, they were like big women
Yeah,
playing
man.
against an under 14 team.
Yeah,
So
man.
I think they gave us like 6-1. I mean, the Boogie Girls. I mean,
Man.
they were a very good team back in the days.
If you see some of these females stand up over the ball and play that ball, I mean, a lot of them technique better than a lot of men. I remember when it was Alicia James and Tashana Vincent who were invited to play in the exhibition game at St. George's. Busy Campbell
Yes.
invited them, and when they took the field and started to play, you should have heard the spectators. A lot of these people had never seen females played, and they were quite impressed, and they were invited every year after that. And they held their own. They played well.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
But you see,
All
one
right.
of the main problems, men ego tend to mess up their game. The women don't share that problem with them. They play within their rules and their guidance and all of that. So,
Well,
it's easier to play with them.
here is a thought concerning that though, that the ego mess up things for the men and the emotions mess up things for the women.
All right. So you can balance it out and take the licks later on.
That's the thing. But I mean, what was your record like with the Jamaica national team as a coach?
I wasn't bad before. When I went to Pan American Games, we won one, drew one, and we lost two. We got a good hiding from Canada, but that was after Brazil manipulated us, destroyed us completely at the Joe Avalanche Stadium, where we ran ourselves into the ground just trying to keep the game. And I think we got 4-1 or 4-2, something like that we got from them, which wasn't a bad result at the end of the day because the same Brazilian team beat Canada.
Right, that's
I
the
think
Brazilian
7.
team with Marta.
Marta, all of them.
Right,
Man,
yeah.
Marta is something. And if you ever see the size of this girl, but trust me, put the ball on her and it's like magic, complete magic. And I remember taking a picture with her and chatting with her after we were on the podium after the game. But we lost that game 4-2, but it wasn't bad. The Canada-Jamaica game was 11-1.
Yeah, the Simon
Dr.
putting it up right
Franklin,
there.
I see it. Thanks, Simon. And Dr. Franklin called me the day before and she said, Charles, I don't know what you're going to do. You don't have a team. Because at the time, if you know Brazil in August, it's winter. And we never had enough the other girls weren't wearing enough warm enough clothes, and we were going down with flus, and we had a lot of injuries from the Brazil game. And we had a goalkeeper who her wrist was gone. We had about 3 healthy players. And one coach suggested to me to start 7 players, and then midway the first half, let one go down. So the game is called off. But you know what? As a young coach, you're not going to do that because that's an embarrassment for your country. But at the end of the day, we still get embarrassed 11-1. And we never had much there going for us. I remember Tashana Vincent saying to me, Coach, strap up my knee. I'll go out there. I can't run, but at least I can get a pass and receive a pass and make a pass for you. And that is what we had to do for the entire 90 minutes. And I'll never forget the Canadian coach came to me at the end of the game and he said, Coach, I'm sorry. I know your dilemma, but I can't tell the girls not to play to win. And I said, well, thanks for at least expressing it, but such is life. But that was 11-1. That was a wake-up call, a learning lesson about a lot of things. I wish I won't see on here. But after that tournament, though, we had a glorious up-arm run in Antigua and a couple of games. Then we went to Cuba. So during that tenure after the Brazil, when I had a chance now to select my squad and prepare, we had a great run. And we won the 2 games in Cuba also. And then at that point of time now, Captain Burrell announced the return of Rene Simoes and his entourage, coaching staff, and we would become assistant coaches. So I worked with Alfredo Montesa, assistant, and Luciana Gama for about a year before we were exited or asked to leave the program because they never had enough money. And then Vin Blaine came back in as technical director and then started to select his own panels after that. But during that time where I was on my own, it wasn't bad. It was great.
Okay, so
A lot of stuff.
you weren't a part of the national setup. I mean, in like 2000 and around 2008.
I was there from 2007 to about 10. But remember now that they shelved the women's program after that for about 5 years. The JFF had voted to abandon or to forget about the women's senior program.
Oh,
So
okay.
there was
And
no
it really
senior program.
restarted at the back end of Captain Burrell's.
Right. When he appointed Sidela Marley as the ambassador,
Right.
she went back to them and said, no, this can't happen. We need to restart the women's senior program. And that is when it restarted. And then she got Hugh Menzies and Lorne Donaldson to take over.
Right. Okay. But you have not been in the program
since now.
Since it has started.
No.
Okay. All right. Simon has a next question, and then we go, kind of segue into
Simon, he has to buy me a coffee for all of these questions.
Yeah, Simon, you have to get some Starbucks, right?
No Starbucks. Cafe Blue or Cannonball.
Blue?
No, I can't say those.
Yeah. All right, so it says, Coach, Bonnie is taking some time to transition in England. Is this expected, as she's not putting in the same number she did in France? 3 goals in 12 games at City is not her sort of numbers.
Well, that is true, but you have to remember now that in England the conditions are a bit different, and also we have to look at the position that she might be playing, because remember in England she was coming off the bench a lot. In France, she was a starter and she was a top gun where they were depending on her a lot. So that gave her more minutes, more touches on the ball, more opportunities in front of goal. In England now, it's a different scenario. She's into a ready-made team that has quite a few good players, capable players, and she's playing second fiddle. So what she has to do is be patient and, work her way into a permanent starting role. And also maybe as she scores goals and the coaches realize her ability, they'll get her in positions more in front of the goals. So over time, you'll see her number climbing up. But right now, she has to be patient and not be frustrated and just, prove herself. In other words, market herself in every opportunity and market well. Not just market, but market well and gain their confidence. I think one of her last outings, she had a pretty good outing. So that argues very well for her. She had scored either 2 goals or something like that. So that's a very good marketing move for her right there. So I'm expecting her over time to step up and become a more dominant force in the Manchester City team. I wouldn't worry about her with that, Simon. I think she's doing the right thing at the moment.
And she also had some injuries in November, I think, as well.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about her. She's a very talented player and she seems to have her head screwed on properly. So I think she knows what she has to do. And I think over time she will get there.
Yeah. All right. I want to just segue into, because unless I don't know if there's any part of the story, like you say, listen, I would love to also talk about this particular that I may not have asked a question in relation to that you'd like to share. Is there anything?
Well, yeah, I'd love to see the JFF putting more emphasis on the women's football. I think a lot of us are a bit tired of the talk. We have heard it over and over, but we need more emphasis because back in the day when I was there as a national coach and they stopped the program, they voted to shelve the program. They didn't see the importance of the women's senior team, and it was causing a problem because a lot of the players playing never saw an outlet for them or where they were going. In other words, why am I playing the league when there's no senior team to go and make? I can't go anywhere. I don't have any opportunity. And ever since it has been back, yes, Sidela Marley has to be given credit. She has really pushed the program along well. She has done a fantastic job to me because we even went to the World Cup. But I'd love to see the the administrative, the people top in the JFF start to put more emphasis on the women's program. I want to see the league being a more developed league where from year to year we are not struggling to find
I think
sponsorship.
Coach Edwards, we have to say we want to see the league first before we add the word develop.
True. And we want to see a grassroots development
Yeah.
program for young female players around the country, not just Kingston and St. Andrew, but around the country. From time to time, we have traveled to Mobay, St. Mary, Trelawney, St. Anne, and you see little girls around the place kicking the ball, and they look pretty decent. So I'd love to see the JFF putting in a serious grassroots program and developing the football right across the island from east to west, north to south. Stop the talking. Let's get the ball rolling.
Yeah. And like I said, that there has been a lot of talk about the league starting, but nothing seems to be happening. I think it could run concurrently with the JPL. I think that's part of what we need to look at. How can we probably do the women's league in such a way that the same visibility we're seeing with the men's league, we can see it with the female league, because oftentimes it is always on the back burner. And maybe there's a way to have, when you have your JPL game, that you have also probably early in the, I don't know, that you have the female game so people will get to see them playing. But I think something like that needs to, I don't know how difficult it would be to have both competitions running at the same time, because I think the visibility is also important if you're not going to have this huge TV sponsorship to have all the games broadcast live, but at least the spectators would be in the venue to see what's happening.
Well, when you say running at the same time, you mean playing in the same stadiums with the men's Premier League game?
For the teams, for example, if Arnett Gardens have a team in the senior women's league, and they are playing, say, Cavaliers, all right. If both teams have a game, that the schedule is in such a way that when Arnett men is playing against Cavaliers, Arnett women are also playing against Cavaliers at the same venue. You have a double header.
Something similar to that happened one year.
Yeah.
It's not identical, but they played a lot of the women's Premier League games as openers for the men's Premier League game. And it was well received, because I remember a doubleheader at Ferdinand Park, and after we finished playing against Portmore, and we were sitting in the stands watching the men's Premier League game, a lot of men were in the stands, people, men and women, saying that they never realized that women played such good football.
Exactly.
They were quite bowled over. They were so astonished to see it, and they were like, wow, I have to start support this. But again, the JFF never continued it. Yeah. But we usually play parallel within the same time frame, but not the same venues.
Yeah, I know that is going to happen, because I know, for example, if Barbican is playing against Los Perfectos, none of those teams are in the Premier League, so it may be a little bit difficult for some of those games, right?
Right, but play whatever you can. Sell the program whatever you can.
There you
whatever
go.
way you can. Yeah,
exactly. At some point, Cavalier is going to say, our game against Barbican is going to be the curtain raiser when we're playing against Harborview. But it can. But go ahead.
I agree with you totally. But this is what I'm talking about. We need more proactive people within the JFF thinking these things through. Right? We need more emphasis. Look at the men's football. Every problem comes up, they find a solution. They find a way to remedy, to work at it and sort it out. I want to see the same attitude towards the female program, where we can say, okay, this is what is happening here. How are we going to resolve this? And not just talk, but get it done. But another thing that I'd love to mention, not knocking media, but I'd love to see even the media promoting more female games when the competition starts. Because what it is that we need to sell it to Jamaica. Yeah. We need for the Jamaican public to be seeing more female football games going on. So maybe when they're looking for sponsorship, they could also look for a package where they can put 1 and 2 games on TV. Not all, but maybe a 1 game a month or 2 games, 1 game a week or something like that. Put it on the TV. Pay for it. Get a package that can pay for it and put it on.
Yeah. I think the good thing that will happen is the fact that there is this quote unquote new media out there, persons like myself, and you have all of these platforms who are now covering a lot of the female footballers. I think that would also help. Like this is prime time to get female football going because you have all these vloggers out there who are now speaking about it, who are now checking out the players and that kind of a stuff, interviewing female prospects locally and abroad for the national teams from the junior level all the way up. So I think that outside of regular your regular household media platforms, there is this outlet within the space of YouTube and stuff that can help in
Oh,
the
definitely.
promotional aspect of it
Yep.
as
Yep.
well. But the
Agree.
other big thing I want you and I to really discuss is that I think there has to be a serious urgency in establishing the league in a format that the salary is meaningful for the players. I think there has to be,
Talking about the women's football.
yes. I mean,
Let me correct you there a little. There's no salary, so you need to have a salary established first
yeah,
before you can even
first,
think about meaningful.
well,
And I agree with you, though. I
there
agree
you
with
go.
you.
I think we have to, in other words, we have to make the ladies um have a good enough incentives because the truth is how the football is. A lot of our players are probably going to come from our players who are playing outside of Jamaica.
Yes.
All right. Therefore, the ones who are playing to keep the sport alive in the country needs to be covered financially. I mean, if a mother says has a child at whatever age, she should be able, if she wants to train, have a babysitter that she can pay to sit with her
Agree.
child. She
Agree.
should not
Agree.
have to carry her child because I've seen this. She should not have to carry her child to the venue
I've seen it
and
all.
training. I've
Amanda.
seen it.
I've seen it all. And you're perfectly right. And in this age and time, if you're going to be playing the football and you have to do a 9 to 5, you're not going to maximize your ability in the game. And if you have a child, you're not going to maximize your ability in the game. So who's losing out? Jamaica. So it's time for us, like as you rightfully said, that we need to look at all these things. But at the same time, we also need to have a league first. And then
Yeah.
we need to market it because I don't think we're going to get to that point just like that. But at least I have mentioned before a blueprint. Jamaica needs a blueprint for all their football in terms of the development, so we know at what stage we are at and where we go next. And after that stage, where do we go next? And this is the same thing needed for women's football. Okay, priority, get the league back. Next, we're looking at is the grounds, salaries, stuff like that. And then we start to push it.
Yeah.
But until we do that,
Yeah. Is there, I mean, I know that everything rises and falls on leadership. It is in the hand of the GFF about initiating the start of the league. But is there an advocating from persons like you and the other owners of teams? The Harborview, the Waterhouse Women's Program, the Westmoreland Women's Program, the Los Perfectos Women's Program, all of those different teams. Is there a constant meeting together, putting the word out, engaging the federation to say, listen, it has been 2 years, it has been 2.5 years. It's about time that we restart the league. We have the clubs are ready, they have the players. Is that kind of advocating happening, or is it just sit down and wait to see what the federation is going to do?
to be honest with you, though, the Federation had the league up and running prior to the pandemic. The
Okay.
pandemic is what knocked the league out. And I think unless they get the approval from the government, it's not going to happen. Because now I think it will happen soon because a lot of people are now getting approvals to go ahead. So I think very soon you might see or hear dialogue from the JFF pertaining to that, because the JFF had reached out to us last year towards the
Okay.
end, saying that they wanted to start the league in January, but it was all dependent on getting an approval from
Okay.
the government. So it's not that it has died, and I can't knock them for that one. I think they are in dialogue for the league to start up. It's just that we are now waiting to hear back from the JFF. But I think pretty soon we might hear from them. I think we're going to have a league starting sometime this year.
Okay. All right. I see Christopher Carroll saying, Sir Manins, I like your idea. You could have a double header, which is when the female play and the male play on the same day at the same venue. I think that is the idea he's speaking to. And then Boss Thomas said, it's like building a house without a blueprint. Problem will come. He's referring to what you said earlier about having a blueprint for the football so you can know the different stages.
Exactly. And it's very critical. Very, very critical. It's like you're going to build a house and you have no blueprint and you're going haphazardly all over the place. You're going to run into problems. But, Stephen Francis said something once on here that the JFF is the only body that he has seen trying to build a house from the roof down. So it argues well that they need a blueprint, because then they would have a starting point and know how to build the football from the bottom up. Because without a foundation, you're going nowhere.
Absolutely. And I mean, that is perfectly said. Now, one of the other things I want to ask, in terms of the new format, is it that they are going to go back to whatever the teams were in the league? Or is there any way where they can say, okay, let's give a St. Anne All-Star? Is it parish based or is it club based that the league is built around, or is it, all right, Westmoreland need to provide a team, Trelawney, and so you can get more persons in more parishes engaged in the league, or it is clubs. It's like the 12 clubs at the Premier League, and if 6 are from Casafa, 4 are from Portmore, and that's 10, that's it. Or is the league set up in a way where all the parishes get to be involved in it?
No, and unfortunately we don't have enough female players around, or teams, or parish leagues, or anything like that. That to me is a good idea, but it's like a wishful thinking situation. But then again, this is maybe where a blueprint will take you finally to that point, by getting all the parishes having a league, and just like the men's Premier League, where you have qualifiers from each parish. But for now, with the women's league, is wherever you can get the teams from. So if Kingston has 6 teams and you enter the Women's Premier League, so be it. If St. Anne has 1, so be it. If they have 4, so be it. And they're always happy for the numbers, because the more the better it is for the league. But I am sure, like back in the days, if the numbers are way beyond a certain point, then you'll have an A league with the lesser teams, and then you have a qualifying system and a demotion system. But for now, it's a matter of where the teams are coming from. It's not parish oriented. That is a must from each parish. It's just wherever they are. So let's say St. Mary comes with a team, St. Thomas comes with a team, St. Anne's, Mobay, Trelawney, Casafa has 6. Then those are the teams that will make up the league.
Okay. All right. I see Christopher Carroll here saying that Sir Manis, your guest sounds like the ideal person that we need to move this endeavor forward, because his mindset, his perspective and heart seems to be in the right place. Well, and he's also a man who does a lot of blueprints.
Oh Lord!
So
Carol, thank you. Are you related to Andy Carroll?
That's a good one.
Nah, but I've been there, and I work from my club to do the best I can. I get a lot of players off the scholarships as best as I can and stuff like that. And there's something back in the past where I've tried to offer help to a lot of high school teams, a couple high school teams, and they never ever take me up on the offer. I don't know why. Can't question them. But I remember about 2 or 3 teams I have gone to the coaches and said, listen, I can carry the Barbican girls down, let them train with your team, help your team along. And I've never gotten any responses from them. I've tried in many ways. When I was in the JFF, we always talk about things we try. But when you're in the JFF and you're talking with the limited financial resources, sometimes it's just a dream that just never materializes. So it's very frustrating working here in Jamaica because as a young coach, you thought that maybe your passion is coaching and that you could make a good living out of it, but it's very difficult. You have to subsidize somewhere along the road, and that takes away from you giving 100%. Because even now, I remember being so wrapped up in the football, putting so much of my resources, finances into it. Although we get sponsorship from time to time, and it end up burning you out. So it's a situation where you have to learn to balance it, and you have to be really careful what you're doing. It can leave you broke in no time. It's like a drug because you care for your players, you love your players, and they all have a need, and you try to help. I've kept so many in high school, back in school. I've helped out so many going off to universities, and it's a difficult thing. This is one of the things I'd love to see. Even our past players, I'd love to see a foundation set up to assist some of our past male and female players who are in need. There are players out there that need help. So
Yeah, I'm telling.
our football needs work.
There is a foundation that is at work now trying to help. In fact, I have some pictures with Michael Tolo and Badas Carbet and some of those guys. I mean that
Tolo is an angel, man.
I am telling. Oh, you know the
He
works
is,
one.
I know Tolo very well. And what Tolo is doing is fantastic. But there are also other people overseas who are trying to help. Peter
Yeah,
Dugan and all these guys. One Peter Dugan who played for St. Andrew Technical and played for a couple of. He played for Arden also, and he went away university, and he's trying to get the diaspora going to support the football as best as he can. And there are other people, a lot more. Bancroft, Gordon, all of these guys outside.
right.
These guys carry a serious passion for Jamaica football. It's just that they need a foot to stand on to get it
Yeah.
going. But Tolo, I can't say enough of how good a job he is doing.
Yeah, the
Honestly.
unsouns. Yep. I,
Yeah.
I mean, so we go. I mean, I'm gonna highlight some of his stuff probably tomorrow because they did some distribution of stuff to former male players. I think I like what you said though because again, it is male players and it's almost like the females who have represented Jamaica when at the beginning of this thing they have almost gone unforgotten. They're
They have
forgotten.
disappeared.
They like yeah,
They have been
yeah,
forced to disappear.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's sad. I don't think you should play for your country, just like in Germany or England or wherever. Once you represent these countries, you're held in very high esteem.
I'm
People look to you, remember you, talk about you. We have nothing for our past players.
man. I'm telling.
I've heard
Listen,
of stalwarts who have died over the years, and
and
not
nobody
even the
knows.
federation even know. And it
Listen,
hurt me. I remember hearing a player, I don't want to call the name, but he was in Florida and he died. And when I realized that nobody even recognized him, and growing up as a youngster, this was a player I looked to, admired. I thought he was a stalwart. And when I heard he died and just went by quietly like that, I cried. I felt bad.
yeah. I mean, if it is bad on the male side,
Ah,
you can imagine how it is on the female side.
yep,
I, yeah,
yep. It's
you know,
awful.
so that's something that we need to do just as a nation, and it
Yeah,
probably goes right across our sporting disciplines.
definitely.
It may not
Definitely.
just be track and field, but it may be,
Definitely. True. Very true.
football and netball, because I'm very sure that there are netballers who feel the same way, and there are cricketers who probably feel the same way, and it is something that as a nation and as a people, we all need to hold ourselves accountable to to
Yeah.
to to to, to that. I mean,
It's a virus that we need a vaccine for.
absolutely, absolutely. But I mean, we're coming close to the end, and then I want to, for you to give your thoughts. You'd have watched the two games that the national team played. I mean, what are your thoughts about them, and expectation for this round of the campaign?
I'm very concerned because, especially the last game, we look a bit disorganized. But like I said prior to the two games, that the team wasn't together for any time, apart from when they were with Busby. But let's say Busby left because of his issues that he has to be dealt with. And, innocent or not innocent or guilty, we don't know. We have to wait for that verdict. He may be back, he may not be back, we don't know. But the point is that Vin Blaine is there now and he had no sessions with them. So I had said that the two games would be like a practice game, a feeler for him to get to know the players, understand the players, because you can't, with a blindfold, step in and just start to manipulate like that. You don't know the players. You don't know a lot of, even though you say you know them, but where are they now in terms of playing, their ability, because they're with clubs overseas or universities or wherever. You have to get to know them. So I thought this was the real test for him now to get to know the players. So in my mind, the third game is what I'm looking to see, and hopefully I'll see a lot more organization on the field, a lot more fluent transition, attacking transitions much better, defensive transitions much better. I think what we have done with the last two teams is just use our raw ability and overpower them, which I expected. But I honestly didn't. I honestly thought we'd have clobbered Grenada with a better scoreline and take the lead in terms of goal difference. But it never happened. It was 6-1. We missed a lot of shots. You could see them shooting and it's just flying over like crazy. But I heard the pitch was very poor and I could see it. So it's one of those things. We will just have to bounce back. And I think Vin knows what he's doing. So hopefully he'll get the girls in good stead. And the next game, we'll start putting some numbers up in terms of goals being scored and get our goal difference up on par with this Dominican Republic team, because this Dominican Republic team doesn't seem like a joke team. They seem like they know what they're doing. I think it's 8 or 9 US based players in the squad. So
Yes.
it's interesting. Let's see what happens when we meet them. I think that last game, and luckily for us, is in Jamaica. So let's see.
Yeah. The last game against them, right? So we play Cayman Islands and then we come back to Jamaica and I don't think the flight to Cayman is that bad as well.
Oh,
So
it's a short flight.
yeah, it's a short flight. So I think we could even leave out after the game to get enough time to recover once we
Right.
get back to Jamaica. But I mean, one of the things that concerns me, just watching on TV and in person at the game, and it's the same challenge I think I have with our male team, is our speed of play. And what
Yes.
you know what that means? We have very fast players, but we play very slow. And
Yep.
always compare it to Japan. Their players are not fast, but they play very fast. The
Yep.
speed of play is fast, though they have slower players. We have fast players, but we play very slow.
When
What
you
needs
say
to be done?
speed of play, it's not about the individual speed.
Right.
It's about how quickly you move the ball. And the advantage
Yeah.
of moving the ball like that is you're moving your point of attack quickly. Because if your point of attack moves slowly, then your opposition
Gets
can
to reshape.
formulate a defensive shape with that point. But if you keep moving it quickly, and if you watch the international game now, you watch a Real Madrid or one of these teams that can move the ball around well, you find that their point of attack changes so quickly that they actually try to break you down and get you out of shape, then they hit you. And we are not doing that. And I find that our possession game tends to be very poor, right? It was with the male team, and with the female team, it's much better, but not where it should be. In other words, then, if you want to move your point of attack quickly and your possession game is not that great, it's not going to happen. Because the quicker you try to move it is the more bad passes you're going to make. So if you're not going to make the bad passes, then you're moving the ball around extremely slow. So we need to be working on these things as much as we can. I used to emphasize the ball possession a lot, and my Barbican team used to move the ball around a lot. And that is one of the things we used to use and destroy a lot of the teams by moving that point of attack very quickly, right? And it's very effective. And that is where the world of football is right now. You can't sit with the ball at one point for too long.
Yeah, and I think I mean I'm looking at this and I'm just thinking, if the more players who play like in the English league, like a Bunny and a couple others who are going to come into the team, who play at a faster pace in terms of ball movement in the league in England, I mean, it may make the transition difficult if we're playing at such a slow pace. And like I was saying,
Definitely.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, and that may be why even yesterday, why Shaw probably looked
Frustrated.
Frustrated.
Yeah,
Frustrated.
that
Because
is
of
it.
yeah,
Because she has climatized to a faster moving game now. And here
yeah,
it is now. But what we must realize though, if you have 6, 7 players in England playing and you come back, you still have players on the pitch playing at a slower level. So there is still going to be a breakdown. So what has to transition now is in training. You have to bring the other players up to speed. Or what they could actually do is have a program for the other players and keep them up to speed so that when they put everybody together, you can have a playing game at a much faster speed. You can move the ball quicker, sharper, and things like that. Because watching even the men's team, ball was being moved so slowly. A lot of bad passes. And we are seeing a similar pattern now, although not as bad. And the disadvantage with this team, though, the female, is that they haven't been together for long. So hopefully, for the next game, we'll see a difference in the team and how they move the ball around.
yeah. Looking forward to that. Like I said, I think I'm very confident that they will get through this phase. It's just how we adjust and make the necessary changes for the final stage of this whole thing. I think we have to look there and see how we are using these games as preparation for that which is to come.
A lot of the teams out there are playing pretty well, and Domrep, we seem to have written off Domrep, and Domrep seem to be a pretty good team. So we have to be very careful right there. We don't want to go into that game overly confident.
You
We
know
want
what?
to be ready for them.
I watched them against Grenada, and it was played in the Dummer, and the field was better.
Much better.
Right, but the goalkeeper for Grenada was poor. It wasn't this goalkeeper that kept for Jamaica. It was some other goalkeeper that, like,
Oh,
right. So for the goal that Jody Brown scored, where the keeper kind of careless, just
yes, and it flipped out of our hand and went in. Yes.
at, at 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 least three of the goals by Damrep was like that, an
Oh,
easy shot. And so they changed the goalkeeper for the Jamaica game and use a younger goalkeeper. But I mean, no excuses. I just said, listen, I think we can add a lot more quality to our team than the Dominican Republic can to their team and
yeah.
stuff. And I mean, so I gave the Jamaican team all the excuses, but I'm saying that we have to also look, because I watch Mexico play, and Mexico and Haiti, they move the ball faster.
Yes.
And that would be my concern.
It
That
has always been a challenge for us,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
So
Mexico always.
yeah,
It's gonna be interesting, but I agree with you that we have time though. We can work on it, and like I said, I don't want to create any points of looking and criticizing or anything like that. Although it's constructive, I want to give them the 2 game cushion to sort themselves out, and then I'll see what comes in the third game. So I have nothing much to say right now, but just to
yeah,
watch and wait and see what happens.
yeah. And let's say you need to be an honorary guest at all the games. You can't be the winningest coach in club football, coach in national team, and you're not at the games.
I know.
So I don't know. Simon, you need to call the GFF and tell them, listen, they need to send Mr. Edwards his special invitation. He cannot not be at the games.
Simon is the boss, you can do it himself.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling him right now. So Simon, get on that. I'm going to, and make sure he gets it from in March. But Coach Edwards, I'm so thankful that you came on. Really, appreciate your insight and the conversation. I know the guys, some up by Constant Spring, are probably going to give you a hard time and say you did not call their name.
And the girls too.
Yes, and Bada Sue going call and say, listen,
Others too.
you never
Yeah.
call him name and all of them things here.
Oh,
Chippy is going to probably call and say, how come
Chippy
you never call him
McDonald
name?
and the
Trevor
bomber.
Lamb is going to say, hey,
Trevor
what
Lamb.
what?
Oh Lord. So many of them. Too
So,
many. Too many. Way too many.
yeah, so, but really want to
Was
thank you.
it was a great time with both teams, huh?
Yeah, man.
It was a family.
I think it was,
Barbican. That was a
yeah,
family.
man. That Constant Spring time was really, you call it the glory days
Yeah,
of
man.
Constant Spring, man.
You
Really.
look forward to football them days. And with the
Yeah,
Barbican girls, the same thing for me, because I recreated that sort of environment at Barbican. And I had great, mature leaders within the Barbican team who could help me, who did a great job. So, it was all round fantastic.
And I can't believe it. I was one of those spectators who caused you to leave, with my bad behavior. So, but I'm a changed man now.
I don't think you were one of them. It was one or two that you just looked at them and you just said, you know what, enough is enough. I've had it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, I'm telling you, it used to be terrible, man.
Oh yeah.
People don't understand that it was rope, and the rope was right behind the bench.
You know, one of the games that I got chewed up for and never liked was a game against, I think it was Cavaliers, and we won the game too, you know. But it's like somebody wasn't happy with something, or one of his friends not playing, and oh my lord, I'm like, how do you win?
Yes,
Such is
yes,
life. Football will
yeah,
always be the same in Jamaica. And hope that
yes.
the spectators will mature and grow up and start to go to games and just enjoy it and stop being spoiled brats. You know?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if you go ever get that. I mean,
Yeah. I don't like to see the abuses.
yep,
You know?
yep.
I remember once getting upset with Prendergast at, I think it was at UTEC, a game was up there against Ligani, and he said to me, Charlie, I can't see everything, you know. We're human beings. So we have to remember that the referees are human beings too, you know, and
Yeah,
treat them with some more respect. And the players too.
yeah. Yeah. All right, coach. Listen, again, thank you so much. We will have more conversations because whenever there's a game, I'm going to try to get your insight. I want to thank you for making yourself available. I've taken up 1.5 hour almost of your afternoon, and I know you have some more blueprints to be working on. So, but thank you so
I'm
much,
good, man.
and yes, thank you
Anything
so
for
much.
football. Thanks for having me. And to all the
Yes.
listeners, thank you very much for listening. And hope everybody play their role in keeping safe and helping us to get back on track in this country quickly. Thank you,
Mm,
sir. Have a good
thank you.
afternoon.
Same to you, coach. Have a great afternoon. All right,
Thank you.
blessings. All right, there you have it, people. What an intriguing, interesting, informative conversation with Coach Charles Edwards. I mean, really gave us an in-depth understanding of the high intellectual capacity of a person who coaches female football, understanding the psychology of the female, able to apply the tenets of the game in a way that gets the best out of the female. So, great conversation today. The most successful female coach in local football, 12 titles in 14 seasons. Wow, wow. Phenomenal. And so, like we always said at the end of these programs, we don't need to wait until people are gone to tell them how good they are. We can do that now. And I hope the powers that be, the Barbican family, the Kasafa family, the Jamaica football fraternity will give honor where honor is due. This coach should have a pass to watch female football wherever it is played in Jamaica. He has developed, improved, and assisted so many talented players to leave the shore of Jamaica and they excel overseas. Thank you so much for joining. This evening at 7, we have one more interview for you. Player by the name of Chiwali da Silva. Yes, we will have him on. You're going to hear about his time in the college system, in England, and in Jamaica. Chiwali da Silva. Join us at 7 p.m. this evening. Again, I say thank you so much for tuning in to I Am Sure Sports. I'm Management, your host. Continue to like, subscribe, and share. We appreciate you here at I Am Sure Sports.